Hello, it's Lizzie back here again, and this time I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous pouch. It's smaller than the ones I've done before, but this time we've got a bit of a twist to it. So it's just 1/2 of a zip again, so I'm going to show you how to put that slider on. But this time when I open it up, it's actually got pockets inside. So there we are. If I show you, if I open that up, you'll be able to see that there's actually pockets inside. It's a really easy technique, and I know you're going to love it. Now with this one, most of this was made on the overlocker, and I'm going to do that in another tutorial in about a week's time. Today I'm going to show you how to make this lovely pouch with pockets just using your regular domestic sewing machine, and it's a great gift idea. It's not too late for the holiday season. Okay, so everything that you need, all the instructions, everything is down below, so click the description. There's a little arrow on the right hand side of your video screen, and that drops down the description, and of course everything will be on there so you can make this. There's no pattern you need to download, all the measurements are there, dead easy. The other thing to remember is please subscribe to my website, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, please hit that bell so you know when I'm going to upload another video, and just give us a thumbs up. Thank you. So the first thing we need to do is we've got some outer fabric, which is glorious. I've actually used some interfacing on here, a stabilizer, just to make it a little bit stiffer. And if you've got directional fabric like this is, just make sure that you're going to stitch the right place. So with this one, this is the bottom, and I'm going to stitch the bottom to the bottom of my lining fabric. So right sides together. Just check again, make sure we've got it right. So right sides together, and I'm now going to stitch those two pieces together along that long side. About 1/4 of an inch seam allowance is absolutely fine. If you want to go bigger, then that's fine. So let's just bring in the machine. You can do a back stitch if you like, just to secure, but it's not necessary with this. And we're going to go all the way down this long length of fabric. And like I say, I will give you all the measurements down below. So, right along this bottom seam. You don't really need to top stitch this at all when you turn it through. Go right to the end. I'll do a little back stitch just to secure. And I'll trim that little piece of lining off. So we'll just neaten that up so it's all the same length and the same width. Just makes it easier later on when we go to stitch the whole thing together. Right, so all we need to do now is turn right sides out and give it a press or give it a finger press, but just make sure that that seam is lying really lovely and flat, because it's imperative for the next stage that it is lovely and flat. So we'll just roll that seam over, and I'll give it a finger press and a bit of a lick. I think we all do that, don't we? Not supposed to. Right, there we go. So that's lovely and secure. Now what you need is for those two fabrics to meet at the top. So where we didn't stitch, in other words, let me show you. This part here, that long edge down there, just make sure that those two meet. And if you want to, use some quilting clips or some pins just to hold those layers together. So I'm just going to bring them up so they meet. Just use my clips to hold. And that really does secure it then. There we go, that's the next stage. So, the next thing we're going to do is actually to stitch our half zip on. Now when I say a half a zip, what I mean is I've actually taken one whole zip and just split it in half like that. And that is the length plus about 1 inch either side. So if I hold that up, you'll be able to see it's about 1 inch either side. Then there, because we need to put a zip slider on, I need just that little bit of leverage. So what we're going to do is do right sides together. So the coil of the zip needs to be face down onto the right side of your fabric. So decide at this point what your right side is. And then I'm going to change to my zipper foot on my machine. It's easier. And I'm just going to stitch that zip in place. So let's bring that in. that on. Move my foot, or my needle, sorry, right across there. And then we're going to stitch these pieces together. Now, don't be frightened by putting a zip in. They really are easy. And I always say, don't be frightened if you haven't done it before, because you all need to do it for that first time, don't you? We're all newbies once. So let's just make sure I've put my needle as far away as I can, which is great. And then I'm just literally stitching through all those 3 layers. And you can pin or use your quilting clips on this as well. So this is very similar to what we've done before, where we've done the half zip, but this has a little bit of a twist by putting the pockets in. So just line that all up. Make sure that's lovely and straight. There we go. Lovely. So that's our zip now in place. And I've taken the clips off as I've gone along. So what we need to do now is to flip this over and top stitch it. But I'm just going to iron it first so it's all lovely and pressed. It does make it easier. So I'm going to iron this over. So I'm going to show you here because that'll make a difference to how this looks. So can you see that that's where I've just stitched along my zip there. So I'm going to flip my zip under and I'm going to top stitch along here just to hold that piece down, and then it will stay flat inside the bag. So I'm just going to press it first, then I'm going to top stitch. So while I'm doing that, have a quick look at this. You can find access to my Gold Club from my website. Sign up and you can connect to my Facebook Live events and join in all the fun my Gold Club members have on a weekly basis. And of course you get free patterns. See my Gold Club video on YouTube for more information. So I've just flipped that over, as I said. I've given it a quick press because that always helps. And now I'm just top stitching my zip down so it's a lovely neat finish. The other thing you can do is to actually zigzag all those pieces together so you've got a really nice neat edge inside your bag. So if you have a look here, you'll be able to see now that I've top stitched this zip all the way along from one end all the way to the other. And if you wanted to, you could add a ribbon in the middle here to help with your zip slider when you pull that open. So the next thing is to put the zip in. Now we've done this before, it's nothing to be frightened of. Some people are a little anxious and I don't blame you. So the first thing we need to do is to pop the zipper slider in. Now I'm going to do it so you can see where I'm doing this and how I'm doing this. So if I turn this way, you'll be able to see I'm going to slide my zipper slider right down. So it's obviously the fat end of the zipper slider goes on first. So just pop that in and just push it down as far as your fabric. So pop that down. There we go. And pop it down to about there. That'll be absolutely fine. Can you see that there? So the next thing is to actually cut this other end. Now with this, you need to cut it into a sort of, well, you kind of just cut a V off. So if I'm going to trim that down just a little bit, I'll just snip my end so it's neat. And when we go to machine this, where you can see that lining piece there, I'll actually trim that away. But what you need to do is to cut a V out of your zip. So that's how it should look with that, the end of the zip there. So what you can do then is to slide that into the other half of your zip slider. And then you've got something to get hold of. Now, as long as your fabric is all lined up, you should be able to do that really easily. So slide that in. I know, I can see my fabric is lined up. I get hold of my other zip like that, the other half, and just pull it. And that actually attaches your zip beautifully. And if you can have a look at that, it shows pretty well that my fabric is lined up. What I would normally do is make sure that this main fabric here is totally lined up with that. But I think for the process of this video, we'll keep it as that and we'll say that that's lined up. But now you've got the idea, and all I'm going to do is trim that away so it's neat. So the next stage is to actually then turn this whole thing through. So if we do it this way, so you can see, turn it through. There we go. Keep your zip slider out of the way for the time being because we don't want that coming off. We've just had the effort of putting it on, so leave it exactly where it is. And then we're going to fold this in half. But the next stage is quite interesting, and this is different to us. So what you're going to do is that you're actually going to fold your fabric up. So where you've got the whole layers there, we've got it in half there, and what you're going to do is to fold this up. Okay, so you're literally almost folding it in half. I show you that way, you'll be able to see that that's all my layers there. Okay, so if I do that again, we're just going to fold that up in half. Now you can measure this each end so it's absolutely equal. I'm going to use my quilting clips just to hold it all together, and then all we're going to do is machine down here and across the bottom, and that then makes your pouch with the pockets. It's interesting, isn't it? So I'm going to machine that now. So I'm going to clip this together just to make sure it all stays in place. Just going to make sure I catch all of that lining fabric because I know that was slightly out. So I've clipped the top piece. I'll show you in a second. Just got a little loose thread there. And then this is where ironing it really makes a difference. And just flip all those layers up. Make sure that this side that's folded here is really beautiful and neat. Okay, this is the side that we're going to stitch and cut, so you're going to make that work for you. So then what I'm going to do is put a quilting clip here just to hold it, and I think I'll probably come in about a good ½ an inch. There we go. And I'm going to zigzag that to make sure it's lovely and neat inside. And of course the other one we're going to do, I'm going to use the overlock or the serger. So I'm going to come in a little bit just to make sure I catch everything. Don't be too worried about going over the zip. In this particular occasion, this is a zip on a roll, and the zip teeth themselves are nylon, so they're really quite soft for your machine. But just be cautious. So just do a little back stitch there as well. We need that to be secure. And then you can zip down the side of your pouch. So again, when you come to all those layers, you might want to lift your foot up to help you. So we're going through quite a lot of layers now, especially because we've got that interfacing. So all the way down. But don't forget, when you come to the end, this long piece at the end, we're actually going to machine across that as well. Not too much, about £1/4 inch I would say is absolutely perfect for this. So keep your needle in if you can. Make sure your layers are lovely and flat inside as well. Just pop your finger in them, feel to make sure that all those layers are laying flat. And then you're coming down £1/4 inch. Even though it's a lovely fold, it seems a bit odd to do that. You'd be very surprised how easy this is, how quick you'll make these, and how lovely they are for gift giving. Right, I'm going to trim the side of my pouch, and then I'm just going to quickly do a zigzag so it's a nice neat finish. Get your best sharp scissors out for this. Now I must admit I use my best scissors for going over the zip, but you may want to use your paper scissors. So just a lovely zigzag, sort of a medium width, a medium length, just to tidy, just that one side. You don't need to do the long side, I'll show you, because that's a lovely folded edge. Maybe a back stitch just to neaten up your threads a little bit. So let's move this out the way. Just cut my threads so they're nice and neat. Any loose ends, just give them a little trim to make sure it's all neat. So you'll be able to see from here that I've stitched down the side here and I've zigzagged just that side. I've stitched along the fold at the bottom then, you can see that. I could do trimming my ends, but I'll leave it for the moment. So all we need to do now is turn through. So pop your fingers into the corners, and there's a lot of fabric here, so you'll need to really give that a poke out with something not too sharp. I use my scissors, but it's not good, is it, to use your scissors? As long as they're not open. So push that out. I wonder if I've got a pokey tool handy. I never have. I never have when I need one. I'll use my... No, that's not going to work. I'll use my scissors. And I mean, if you want to, you can cut a little bit of the bulk away, but quite honestly, there's not much. Because you stitched it, you zigzagged it, and you neatened it. The one thing that you will get is where that zip starts, you will get a beautiful squared off end, which doesn't happen very often when you're making bags with zips in. So apart from poking that corner out a little bit more, we're done. So there we are. So that is the pouch made. We've got it top stitched on the front, so it looks really professional. You've got the pockets inside. Let me open those up. So you can see the pockets inside. And so you've got 3 different places to put your goodies. And it might just be for pens and pencils. It might be for one of the grandchildren or your children to put their pens and pencils in. But isn't that fabulous? So that is our pouch with the pockets inside.